Welcome, everybody. We'll give everybody a few moments to get on. I'll go ahead and get my screen set up. Y'all let us know in the chat if y'all can hear us good.
Shadows creep across the land, whispers in the wire. Systems rise to chain the soul, feeding on desire. They promise peace if you comply, bow down or fade away. But the word rings clear through the noise, don't take the mark that day. Right hand or forehead sealed in deceit, no buying, no selling without there be. Revelation 13, 16, 17. Mark of the beast, coming for the lost, but I won't bow no matter what the cost. I'll stand with the Lamb whose blood was shed, book of life written. No fear of the dead, resist the devil, he'll flee from the fight. Worship the King, hold to the light. Mark of the beast, I see through the lie. With the Lord, I'll never comply. World's pushing hard in these final hours. Lies on screens, twisting truth to power. They demand your soul for a place in line, but my allegiance is to the one divine. No compromise when the pressure mounts high. I'll take the narrow road even if I die. Mark of the beast, coming for the lost, but I won't bow no matter what the cost. I stand with the Lamb whose blood was shed, book of life written. No fear of the dead, resist the devil, he'll flee from the fight. Worship the King, hold to the light. Mark of the beast, I see through the lie. With the Lord, I'll never comply. Here is wisdom, count the number true, it's man's rebellion. Nothing new but the faithful endure, sealed by grace. No wrath for those who seek his face. When the beast demands worship and control, I lift my voice, Jesus saves my soul. Stand firm to the end, armored complete. Victory's coming, feel the heat. Mark of the beast, trying to steal the crown, but I'm standing ground, won't back down. With the Lamb who was slain from the start, his name on my heart, tearing chains apart. No mark on this hand, no seal on this head, only the blood of Jesus instead. Mark of the beast, I refuse to call, Lord, I'm yours forever. Through it all, no mark, no mark. Stand firm, worship the Lamb. No retreat, no surrender.
Well, everybody. Today we're going to show y'all a little bit of news, something we found. Looks like Hegseth has a hard time telling the truth. So y'all check this out. Something you wanted to say before, Vernon, or you want to wait till after?
It's just, ironic that he can't tell the truth when he works for the War Department. It's a serious job not to be able to tell the truth. Some other things to say about what he said, or can I say that after, or what?
It don't matter, whenever you want to.
Okay, well, he doesn't answer the questions. It's obvious he was told to do that, not answer the question. And what's bad is he's using the road of starvation and needed medical care to what he calls getting a victory in a war that he needs more bombs. And he's doing nothing to represent the people that he works for that needs this medical care, food, and benefits that they're promised. He's denying this to get a war that he said was already won for more bombs. And when the man is asked questions about what he said, that the war was already won, he stated these facts, he won't answer. He skims around it, jumps around it, doesn't answer the question. And what surprises me is that the senators don't hold him in contempt of court. They let him keep not answering the question. In any other court proceeding, this man would be in contempt of court and he'd be arrested. Now, they're either protecting him or they don't know what they're doing. But I think they do know what they're doing. They're protecting him because he's protecting whoever told him not to answer. And that's a shame. A lot of needed people for a lot of needed benefits.
The evolution of AI has now reached emotional intelligence.
Look at this.
Secretary Hegseth.
Very interesting.
Secretary Hegseth, you are asking for unlimited money for bombs when people can't feed their families. And I don't know how this administration intends to defend those decisions to the American people.
Not unlimited bombs, Senator. I'm asking for the right bombs at the right time to ensure we can deter our adversaries into the future. And that's why this is a generational investment. And it was the previous administration that didn't fund this department.
Secretary Hegseth,
there's no reason to be rude.
You are asking for unlimited money for bombs when people can't feed their families. And I don't know how this administration intends to defend those decisions to the American people.
Not unlimited bombs, Senator. I'm asking for the right bombs at the right time to ensure we can deter our adversaries into the future. And that's why this is a generational investment. And it was the previous administration that didn't fund this department.
The reason why they are upset with you and this administration is because the words you have used in the past don't add up. About Iran specifically, you said that we had obliterated, quote unquote, Iran's ability to create nuclear weapons. The president made the same claim. Yet 8 months later, in February of 2026, the president launched an act of war claiming Iran was within 2 weeks of having a weapon. So when you say two very different things, the American people don't know who to believe or what to believe. They just know they can't afford their health care, they can't afford their food, they can't afford housing, and our farmers are continuing to suffer. So, which is true? Was it obliterated or wasn't it? What's the status?
The nuclear sites under Midnight Hammer were obliterated, but Iranians foolishly continued to attempt to pursue nuclear capabilities, which is why we destroyed their defense industrial base and so many of the other capabilities to ensure they can't get to a nuclear weapon. So we're staying laser focused on the objective, and you're trying to make campaign commercials.
No, we're not.
And that's fine.
So listen to this. You also say that you made the missile program, quote, destroyed and made combat ineffective. Quote, Iran's entire ballistic missile production capacity, every company that builds every component of those missiles has been functionally defeated and destroyed, and that the missile program, existing stockpiles were depleted and decimated, almost completely ineffective. So why are there missiles left to hit Jordan and result in the loss of life of our brave men and women?
As we stated from the beginning, the Iranian defense industrial base is effectively gone. But they do have underground facilities because they're the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism, and they've spent 47 years trying to hide their missiles under mountains, just like their nuclear capabilities, because they would like to get a nuclear weapon to wield it against us.
Of the war to believe, because it's either over or it's not over. It's within 2 weeks or it's not 2 weeks. We have no missiles or we have missiles, and that consternation is why so many New Yorkers are perplexed, stressed out, and find this war to be incredibly unpopular because they don't understand the choices that the president's making.
Exactly. I will tell you why I use the word failure, because I use the word failure to their leaders. You, sir, are the failure, not the men and women who are on that front line, not the men and women who hold up their honor with distinction. But if there's a lack of a winning strategy, they're in harm's way. Their leaders have failed them. And that's what's happening. We have political leadership. You don't have a strategy. You don't have a long-term plan to actually win this war. Win the war. The men and women are going to be able to do it, but they need to have leadership. When will you show leadership?
I think your characterization of this incredible effort as a failure is reckless. And I think it's irresponsible. And I think it smears the sacrifice of the troops that are out there making on behalf of the American people to ensure that Iran never gets a nuclear weapon. Shame on you and others who call this a quagmire and a failure, and then you want to turn around and say you support the warfighter. Either you do or you don't.
Is the nuclear material still there?
I can get you a ticket out to CENTCOM and talk to what those Americans are doing, how committed they are to this effort, and how they want to ensure that Iran never threatens their families with a nuclear weapon. That's the kind of intensity that our warfighters have about making sure that Iran isn't capable of doing that.
Secretary Hegseth, if you listen to my comments, you would have heard me say how amazing our warfighters are.
I heard failure. The word heard. I heard exactly.
I will tell you how I use the word failure, because I use the word failure to their leaders. You, sir, are the failure, not the men and women who are on that front line, not the men and women who hold up their honor with distinction. But if there's a lack of a winning strategy, they're in harm's way. Their leaders have failed them. And that's what's happening. We have political leadership. You don't have a strategy. You don't have a long-term plan to actually win this war. Win the war. The men and women are going to be able to do it, but they need to have leadership. When will you show leadership? When will you show leadership?
Why don't you show some leadership and stand up to your fellow Democrats who won't fund the troops, who stand and play partisan politics while you don't give us the money? You want to stand up here and talk about the troops? You won't show any political courage to actually fund our department because you have Trump derangement syndrome and can't actually commit to anything meaningful. So I put this on you, Senator.
Secretary Hegseth, you have trillions. You have over $1 trillion. You're asking for $1.5 trillion. It's not a question of money. It's a question of leadership and understanding what it takes to actually win.
Political cowardice of Democrats who won't fund the troops.
Mr. Secretary, early in the conflict, day 3, you said one of those core objectives was to, quote, destroy the missile threat. And as you restated on day 5, to, quote, obliterate Iran's missiles and drones. Those were clearly and repeatedly stated core objectives of the campaign.
I just built a budgeting app with Base 44.
Interesting. Can you generate reports?
It can now. Anything else?
Can this thing process invoices?
Can it show cost growth by
which 4 months ago you declared had been completed victoriously with every single objective achieved. Were those objectives achieved 4 months ago?
No one ever stated that every single missile was gone. Ultimately, combat ineffective means they're not able to dig them out of their UGFs and shoot
Had
at
the
us.
missile threat
It doesn't mean they
been
don't have
defeated
underground
4 months
facilities
ago?
where they put missiles in them and hold on to them because they're the world's largest state sponsor of terrorism. So we never expected they would stop having capabilities to shoot. The question is at scale against an opponent like the United States of America, which went toe-to-toe with them and Iran couldn't.
You stated on March 8th, day 9 of the war on 60 Minutes, you assured the American people of Iranian surrender. Does that remain your prediction?
Ultimately, Iran will never have a nuclear weapon to threaten the United States of America. That has been the objective, and it remains so.
So just to review, you will not answer whether your statement made on the 14th day of the war that Iran's military had been, quote, destroyed and made combat ineffective was a truthful statement to the American people as you sit here and ask for tens of billions more for the conflict.
Senator's time has
had a historic and effective military campaign against the largest state terrorism.
Won't answer the question.
Senator Peters is recognized.
General Kane, let me just begin by expressing on behalf of all Georgians our immense gratitude and admiration for the service members who are making tremendous sacrifices and conducting themselves with extraordinary selflessness and professionalism on behalf of the United States and our state's unified condolences and grief for the families of the 4 killed in action. and our hope for a swift recovery for the nearly 100 wounded over the last 2 weeks. And thank you to you for your service to the nation. Mr. Hegseth, you're requesting roughly $68 billion for the department through this supplemental, correct?
67, yes.
And yesterday, your department stated publicly, quote, U.S. forces struck Iranian military command centers, maritime capabilities, missile and drone launch sites, and air defense systems to degrade Iran's ability to continue attacking commercial vessels. That was a press release from your department. Is that a broadly accurate characterization of ongoing operations?
That sounds broadly accurate, yes.
On day 14 of this conflict, Mr. Secretary, day 14, nearly 5 months ago, you stated that Iran's military had been, quote, destroyed and, quote, made combat ineffective. That was on day 14 of the war. Was that an accurate statement?
They didn't have a Navy any longer. It was completely sunk. Their missiles were buried underneath a lot of their underground facilities, and their defense industrial base has been almost completely destroyed. So as far as a military assessment of Iran's capabilities, it didn't mean by any stretch of the imagination absolute zero, but their capabilities
Mr. Secretary,
at the lowest level
you
they've been in a
stated
very
that
long time.
on day 14 of this conflict, in the second week of the conflict, you stated that Iran's military had been, quote, destroyed and, quote, made combat ineffective. Was that an accurate statement? Yes or no?
Iran's ability to challenge the United States of America at the level at which we're capable of.
That's not what I asked you, Mr. Secretary. You said on day 14, Iran's military had been, quote, destroyed and, quote, made combat ineffective. Yes or no? Was that an accurate statement?
What the American military has
Will you
done
answer
to
the
the
question?
Iranian military is a historic military
Will you
defeat,
answer the
and they're
question
ineffective
under oath?
in that context.
3 weeks later, you declared victory. That was now nearly 4 months ago. 3 weeks after you'd already said Iran's military was destroyed and combat ineffective, you said, quote, Operation Epic Fury was a historic and overwhelming victory. You said Iran's military had been rendered, quote, combat ineffective for years to come. And you stated we had, quote, achieved every single objective. Were those accurate statements?
It certainly was, on behalf of the men and women in uniform, a historic military victory over Iran.
Had Iran's military been rendered, quote, combat ineffective for years to come? That was a statement that you made 4 months ago.
They had 160 naval vessels
You need to
in the
answer
Blue
the
Water
questions,
Navy,
Mr.
and they're gone.
Secretary.
Their Air Force
You
is
said 4 months
completely
ago.
combat
You
ineffective,
said
and they don't
4
have a
months
defense
ago.
industrial base.
Excuse
So
me, Mr.
describe to me a country
Secretary.
that doesn't have an Air Force, a Navy, or a defense industrial base, and I will describe to
Secretary.
you a country that does not have an effective
Mr. Secretary,
military.
you
It
stated-
can lob missiles.
Mr. Secretary, you stated
missiles,
4
but it's
months
not a
ago
combat-effective
that Iran's
military.
military had been rendered, quote, combat ineffective for years to come. Has Iran's military been, for the last 4 months, combat ineffective?
It's been set back not just years, but likely decades.
You
considering
stated we
it
had,
can't build
quote,
at the level
you
it did
stated-
before, and not
you
even
stated
close. It
we
doesn't
had,
mean it
quote,
doesn't have capabilities.
Mr. Secretary, you stated we had, quote, achieved every single objective. Was that an accurate statement 4 months ago?
The main objective of this was to ensure that Iran never gets a nuclear weapon. Their main sites were obliterated. We're watching over them, and we're holding that issue. If they don't give them up at the table, there's other ways we can take them
Early
away.
in the conflict
Iran will
on day
never have a
3,
nuclear
Mr.
weapon.
Secretary, early in the conflict, day 3, you said one of those core objectives was to, quote, destroy the missile threat. And as you restated on day 5, to, quote, obliterate Iran's missiles and drones. Those were clearly and repeatedly stated core objectives of the campaign, which 4 months ago you declared had been completed victoriously with every single objective achieved. Were those objectives achieved 4 months ago?
No one ever stated that every single missile was gone. Ultimately, combat ineffective means they're not able to dig them out of their UGFs and shoot
Had
at
the
us.
missile
It
threat
doesn't mean they
been
don't
defeated
have
4
underground
months
facilities
ago?
where they put missiles in them and hold on to them because they're the world's largest state sponsor of terrorism. So we never expected they would stop having capabilities to shoot. The question is at scale against an opponent like the United States of America, which went toe-to-toe with them and Iran couldn't.
You stated on March 8th, day 9 of the war, on 60 Minutes, you assured the American people of Iranian surrender. Does that remain your prediction?
Ultimately, Iran will never have a nuclear weapon to threaten the United States of America. That has been the objective, and it remains so.
So just to review, you will not answer whether your statement made on the 14th day of the war that Iran's military had been, quote, destroyed and made combat ineffective was a truthful statement to the American people as you sit here and ask for tens of billions more
The
for the conflict.
senator's time has
That a
expired.
historic and effective military campaign against the largest state sponsor of terrorism.
Won't
and will
answer the
ensure they
question.
never
Senator
get a nuclear
Peters.
weapon.
Wow. Wouldn't answer the question.
Right, just for that reason. That man should be arrested for the court. And that's $67 billion given to the people who need the food stamps or SNAP and the medical care.
Right.
Just to prove a point of justice.
Well, that's what we had to share with y'all today. Until next time, 2 lamps last hour news and oil.